The three unforgivable curses, Imperio, Crucio, and Avada Kedavra, are tremendously dangerous. But why are these three spells in particular deemed unforgivable when so many others aren't? I mean, I'd argue that there are worse spells out there that are more deserving of this title. Today we're going to be discussing all of this and more as we dive into the history of the unforgivable curses, exploring their origins and classification. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. The unforgivable curses are tools of the dark arts, and generally only used by the darkest and most sadistic witches and wizards. These unforgivable curses are comprised of Crucio, Imperio, and Avada Kedavra. The Cruciatus curse, aka Crucio, literally translates to I torture in Latin, so you can already begin to get an idea of what this spell does. When cast, Crucio inflicts excruciating pain on the victim, pain so excruciating that it is considered to be torturous. Its effects are said to vary depending on the caster's desires and emotions. To produce the excruciating pain implied by the name, the caster must despise the victim and enjoy causing pain. Harry Potter, after Crucio was cast on him, described it as feeling like his head was being split open while having his bones set on fire. The Imperius curse, or Imperio, gets its name from the Latin impero, which means I command. When it is cast on a victim, they are forced to perform the unquestioned bidding of the caster. Being under the control of this spell is said to be like experiencing a wonderful release from any sense of responsibility, making the victim extremely susceptible to any sort of influence from the caster. Because of this adopted carefree attitude, the victim is inclined to carry out tasks for the caster without any sort of moral compass or awareness of the caster's intentions or desires. And Avada Kedavra is much more simple. It just kills people. If you want to kill someone and you're not afraid of breaking wizarding law, then this is the spell to use. When cast, it creates a blindingly intense green bolt of light right before the victim simply drops dead. All three curses require proper intent and proficient ability at performing magic in order to cast. Otherwise, they are relatively ineffective. And all three were dubbed so morally questionable that they were eventually banned in the wizarding world. Now, those three curses, Avada Kedavra, Imperius, and Cruciatus, are known as the unforgivable curses. The use of any one of them on a fellow human being is enough to earn a life sentence in Azkaban. That's what you're up against. That's what I've got to teach you to fight. You need preparing. You need arming. But most of all, you need to practice constant, never-ceasing vigilance. Get out your quills, copy this down. But what, you may ask, is the reason for the unforgivable status of these spells? Bombarda Maxima, Fiendfire, Sectum Sempra, Confringo, all of these bear the capacity to kill a target and more. What makes these three spells different? Let's take a quick look at their history. Though the exact date remains a mystery, it's widely speculated that all three curses were created in the Middle Ages, sometime between the 5th and 15th century. And for many years, witches and wizards were free to use these spells without repercussions, at least not legal repercussions, as they weren't classified as unforgivable until 1717. When legislation was passed by the ministry to name those three curses unforgivable, the strictest penalties were put in place and attached to their use. Utilizing one of these three curses just one time could land you a life sentence to Azkaban. It remains unclear to this day why exactly these three spells were singled out and named unforgivable when there are so many horrible curses in the wizarding world, but I've got a few theories. Politics. The first theory I want to touch on is that the unforgivable curses were outlawed for political reasons. Ulick Gamp was the Minister for Magic at the time the spells were outlawed, with just 1 year left in his term. Therefore, I think that one of two things may have happened. The first possibility is that something may have happened involving these spells that threatened his position. I can only imagine the chaos that something like the Imperius curse would cause in a government structure like the Ministry of Magic, and so I can hardly blame Gamp for outlawing these curses. The next possibility is that outlawing the curses was simply a politically driven decision in order to secure the popular vote. With just 1 year left in his term, I suspect that Gamp would have done whatever possible to ensure that he remained as minister. Outlawing extremely dangerous and unethical curses seemed like a good way to achieve that. However, this clearly was not enough to secure the popular vote, as he was voted out in 1718 and Damocles' Rowel was welcomed in. Unyielding desire. One of the core components of the 3 unforgivable curses is that in order to master them, you must fundamentally align yourself with what the curse is trying to achieve. You need an unyielding desire to cast the spell. This is referenced by Bellatrix in the Order of the Phoenix. Never used an unforgivable curse before, have you, boy? You need to mean them, Potter. You need to really want to cause pain, to enjoy it. Righteous anger won't hurt me for long. I'll show you how it's done, shall I? And this is where the ethical component comes in. The unforgivable curses are considered unforgivable not just because of their effects, but because they represent a fundamental breach of ethical principles. They are designed to cause extreme suffering, eliminate personal autonomy, and to take life without justification. These actions are so contrary to the values of respect, dignity, and justice that they are deemed beyond the realm of forgivable offenses. Every world has to have rules, and I think that these spells, Avada Kedavra, Crucio, and Imperio, serve as archetypes of the darkest aspects of human behavior: killing, torture, and stripping of free will. No countercurse. The 3 unforgivable curses have one thing in common: no countercurse. Even the darkest of spells like Sectum Sempra have a countercurse, but in the case of Avada Kedavra, Crucio, and Imperio, there's really not much you can do to stop their effects. The killing curse causes immediate and irreversible death. There is no spell to revive a person killed by this curse, making its consequences absolute and final. While the pain caused by the Cruciatus curse can cease when the curse is lifted, the psychological and sometimes physical damage can be permanent. There is no spell that can undo the trauma inflicted. And although a person can resist or shake off the Imperio's curse with great effort and mental strength, there is no direct counter-curse that can instantly free someone from its effects. I suspect that the severity and finality of the consequences inflicted by these curses, death, excruciating pain, complete submission, could have set them apart and led to their blanket prohibition. It strips your soul. The last theory I've got for you today is that use of any 3 of the unforgivable curses causes irreparable damage to your soul. The soul is a common theme within the Harry Potter story, and time again we're brought to its significance and its relationship to death. It's depicted as the essence of an individual's identity, encompassing their consciousness, morality, and humanity. It's what makes a person truly themselves, beyond their physical form. And there are many ways to strip one's soul. Committing murder is portrayed as the most direct way to damage the soul. This is most explicitly shown through the creation of Horcruxes, where the act of murder is required to split the soul and encase a fragment of it in an object. Voldemort's repeated murders led to the extreme fragmentation and corruption of his soul. Dementors feed on the soul of their victims, and at the cost of your soul, unicorn blood can keep you from dying, even when you're an inch from death. Therefore, I don't think it's unreasonable to assert that the use of any 3 of the unforgivable curses causes direct damage to one's soul. Using Avada Kedavra to take a life irreparably harms the soul, reflecting the serious ethical breach of intentionally ending another person's life. Inflicting unbearable pain for the sake of torture is an act of profound cruelty that corrupts the soul of the caster. And controlling another person's free will and autonomy is a severe violation of their rights and dignity, leading to moral and spiritual degradation for the caster. And that's it for this video. Had you ever wondered why these spells were deemed unforgivable? What are your theories? Leave me a comment down below. Until next time, remember, it does not do to dwell on dreams and to forget to live.